We'll give it a go here. We're going live here. We're live from Nashville in a house in Nashville right there. What do we got? Jackrabbits,
Yep.
San Diego State representing the city well, making the trip on from the West Coast to the middle of America. Travis Grin, Sterling Hildebrand, Nathan Stackett, and happy birthday to all the fathers out there. Well, it's prostate cancer awareness, sir. That's what that's all about.
When I think of prostates, I think of light blue.
Yes. All major league teams wearing your light blue today, so that's what that's all about. Apparently, there's a basketball game tonight. It's Game 7 of the finals, and that is the final game because that's all they do. Once they get to 7, they say, "All right, that's enough." The series has been awful. It's been absolutely trash. Once Golden State won by 35 points there in Game 2, then they come back and lose by 30 points in Game 3. I mean, I've heard a couple people say this is one of the most important games in quite some time, and I really don't give a shit stacking about this game tonight, which is a shame. I think Golden State wins because it's at home. I don't give a shit about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the importance of it, just in part for LeBron and his legacy, winning one for the city of Cleveland, who hasn't won a championship since 1965. But then, again, you look at it, and the Golden State Warriors in their great season, 73 wins, they don't win this one, they're going to be considered this will be one of the biggest disappointments of all time. Them losing this series, Steph Curry has not played very well. Draymond Green, nice to see him come back and have an impact in Game 6 after his suspension in Game 5. This is what the NBA wanted. They wanted 7 games. They got it. Rather rigged league. But
why? I'll interrupt you there. Why is this seemingly the only, not only the only sport, but the only league where they say, "Oh, it's rigged. It's rigged, Charlie. It's rigged."
To be fair, I mean, I don't think ever in the history of time has anything ever been rigged in Cleveland's favor before. So
that's so true.
if you want to say that there have been things that have been fishy in the past about the NBA, I could maybe sort of buy it. I don't know if they're going to be like, "Yep, we need that. We need Cleveland to love us though," because Cleveland never gets anything right.
And I say rigged in joking manner.
Tongue in cheek. Your tongue is inside of your mouth, inside of your cheek.
Yes, I'm speaking tongue in cheek, but that's what a lot of people are looking at this series as. Just
like why? Because they suspended Draymond Green. Everybody knew if he did what he did again, he was going to get suspended. So what is the big outrage that they suspended him? Everybody fucking knew if he hit you in the balls again, he's going to get suspended. Marcus Traxler. Are people surprised by this? Are these the Trump voters? Are these the transgenders? What the hell is going on here?
Who's doing the raping? Who's doing it?
Vandenberg and Vanderbilt. That's who's doing it.
Damn it.
I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but
like, are people stunned that they suspended this man? They must be. If this is the whole of the thing, this rig thing, then they're stupid. Then they're goddamn stupid.
They're stunned, even though, I mean, the bar had been
suspended fucking 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he should have been suspended 2 weeks ago. So there you have it.
That's what my friend Stephen Smith does not believe Draymond Green should have been suspended.
Well, I would just like to address the comments that were made about tonight's game, and I think it's really interesting. I know this series has been pretty bad for even having 2 pretty good teams and it going to a 7th game, but I do think that I mean, this is just tremendous for the NBA. Obviously, they're kind of in a no-lose situation as far as storylines, and you know, if like Stacken sort of alluded to, if Golden State wins, the winningest team in NBA history will finish it out with a victory, and if not, they're going to be a 98 Vikings type team, really, except worse, because they actually get to the championship.
2007 Patriots.
Yeah, more like the Patriots, where, I mean, they've got victory in their hands and then they let it go. To be honest, that's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the Warriors to lose, and I'm rooting for. I love this conundrum that a lot of people are being forced into, where LeBron has been amazing in these last few games, almost as good as he was last year in the finals. And if he puts up one more huge game, his legacy will be undeniable. I don't think you can really even compare him to Michael Jordan. I think he's starting to put himself in his own category, which is what which is good. I mean, Michael Jordan, obviously, 6 for 6. He wasn't ever going to get to that point anyway, but we can maybe, I mean, people always hate on LeBron, but he's doing a pretty good job of proving his worth in this series. And if he puts up one more monster game, it'll be incredible.
I feel like
Crins.
last year when the MVP went to Andre Iguodala, which I thought it would if Golden State won the series.
You called it, folks. You called it.
LeBron James was the best player in that series, and if he had won MVP, would not have been a problem with that. I think he wins MVP regardless of what happens tonight, if the Warriors win or they don't, because I mean, I think you could also say Draymond. Steph probably could get it if he has like 35, 40-point game, but he hasn't made an impact in the series as big as what an MVP of the league should. And LeBron has, especially the last 2 games. I would give it to LeBron James regardless of what happens tonight, even though I don't think it will happen.
If Steph Curry puts in 40, I don't think LeBron's going to get it. So that would solve. I mean, I would also say that if he didn't win it last year, he's not going to win it this year if they lose. So
he had better stats last year and didn't win it when he should have.
Yep.
And at least this year, Golden State's got a couple guys. Like I think Klay Thompson should probably win it if he does all right today. I think he's been their best guy. He showed up the most times. Charlie, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, Crin's not hard about this game tonight. I am taking a Chinese arithmetic math test underwater hard about this game.
Are you?
Like, I am. Oh, yeah, I am all. This is the most excited I've been for an NBA game. And let's see. The last Game 7, I think, was the first time between the Heat and the Spurs, like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yep.
And I'm more excited for this game. Because that year, I didn't care, because I didn't really like either team. So, I mean, like, maybe did the Celtics-Lakers go 7 games in, like, 2010 or whatever?
That was a dog, what we would call piss ball. That was a piss ball.
That was piss ball. That was piss ball basketball right there.
65-66.
Yeah, it ended up not being – it did not end up being good, but I was excited for that game because I did not want Schottenkirk's Lakers to win, even though I did not know Schottenkirk at that time. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the storylines. I usually don't go all in on the storylines and really caring, but this is the first time in a while, at least in an NBA game, where it's just like it seems like you can so easily just see like, well, this is how it's going to be if Golden State goes down for the next few years, and this is how it's going to be if Cleveland wins for the next few years. I mean, if Golden State loses, that would mean they were champs, they had a great next season and lost. And this is very speculative, and I'm not saying it would work out this way. But let's say in the offseason, the Spurs, who already have Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge, bring in some other really big-name superstar. And then they beat the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs the next 2 years. And then either Klay Thompson or Steph Curry leaves Golden State for whatever reason, because basketball players leave at times. And then Golden State's just kind of this weird little footnote in history that it's just like, yep, for like 2 years they were really good. And that's all very speculative, and I doubt it'll work out that way, but it could. Where if Cleveland wins...
They're the St. Louis Rams of the deal there. They're like really good for like 3 years. They were the best goddamn team going. And,
or I was going to say, like, if the Seahawks don't make another Super Bowl, it'd be like the Seahawks of recent years, kind of. Where if Cleveland wins, LeBron can basically give everyone in Cleveland the finger on the way out anywhere, and everyone will say, I don't care. Look how great the technique was of the way he flipped us the bird. That's the greatest bird flip I've ever seen in my life. And they'll probably set that one river on fire in Cleveland if they win, and I kind of want to see that happen.
Cuyahoga. To parlay off of what Charlie said, I mean, I think there's a good chance this game is a dud tonight, just like all the other games have been, and that's probably going to happen. But the storylines won't let us down, and I think that's what is most exciting about tonight's game.
If tonight's game is decided by double digits, it will be the first time in NBA Finals history that all games will be decided by double-digit points.
And it goes 7 games in addition to
that.
So that would be funny and ironic.
So
sometimes I get like romantic about storyline. So I'm just assuming, and I've got a strong feeling that Golden State's going to play well at home. but just that this is going to be like the only good game of the series. And a decade from now, nobody will remember anything about this playoffs at all, or the first 6 games. They'll just remember that Game 7 was good, and then people will be like, but the other games were bad. They're like, oh, didn't even remember. The 7th game was great.
Yeah,
So basically, that's what I'm hoping happens.
If it went down to like the final shot or whatever, then it would make us forget everything that happened in the first 6 games. I just kind of want to throw out the question here, but how big of a loss is it for the Golden State Warriors that Andrew Bogut's not playing and Andre Iguodala has some back spasms?
Andrew Bogut don't care. Iguodala, that's something.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give Bogut like a 2.5 or a 3. I might give Iguodala like a 5.
Okay.
Like it's something.
I give him like a, he guards LeBron quite a bit.
Yeah,
And
that's the biggest
well.
part. You got to be able to guard. You got to be able to guard LeBron, and he's their number 1 guy to guard him. So.
And Cleveland's doing an excellent job with the picks, getting Steph Curry to guard LeBron now. So they're setting they're setting their offense up pretty nicely for that. I expect that to happen again tonight.
My low expectations are because of what Marcus said. I don't expect a good game because why the fuck would I? There hasn't been a good game all series long. So
It's been a good game in the playoffs. Let's be free.
No. This what Charlie said. Remembering stuff. I'll always remember these playoffs for that Oklahoma City Golden State series. That was your finals right there, folks. That was tremendous.
That was a very good series. Yeah.
That was great.
Also, Steph Curry knifing the Blazers in the second round in overtime.
That was good. Coming back, he didn't play for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, bang!
Bang.
I will bring up this one point, and this is theoretical because if the game, like I said, is not even if the game's just mediocre tonight, this won't matter. But as a counterpoint, what do you most remember about the NCAA March Madness tournament this last year?
The
Last
championship
year,
game.
I remember Michigan State losing in the first day or second day. That's what I remember. And I
And there
remember
were
a
some-
great championship game.
And there were a few good games, but most of the games between the opening round and the title game weren't all that great from what I remember. But North Carolina and Villanova was such a great game that it was just like, well, I don't care that the other ones weren't great now because this made up for all of it.
I remember.
And I can feel myself like growing stupider and looking less forward to this now because I know I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But
All right, Charlie, what are you more interested in tonight then? Game 7 of the NBA Finals or Episode 9 of Game of Thrones?
I don't have to choose. I'm going to watch both.
I know, but what one do you think is going to let you down more?
Which one's going to... Oh, I think the basketball game's going to let me down more. Game of Thrones is scripted. They can at least choose what they think's going to happen.
How's that
so is the
different than
NBA.
How is it different?
NBA,
Oh,
that's
yes,
right.
folks. We're on it.
Good
We're on
point.
it.
Good point.
There we go. No, Stephen F. Austin, I remember them. That was a entertaining little 2-game run they had. And I remember that the Villanova-Kansas game was absolute shit. So that's what I remember from the tournament.
I would also say that you and I had maybe the most interesting 2 games with the half-court win over Texas and then completely collapsing against Texas A&M that I completely forgot about and just till right now.
As did I. Rest in peace.
As I'm sure that you and I wants everyone to forget.
What are with this home court? I mean, Jesus Christ. What is the difference here? I have no idea. You travel, I understand that. I just don't know what the tangible evidence is for playing so terrible on another team's floor.
Well,
Even though both teams have won on the road once this series. It's just, my God. I mean, there's one thing to lose and win, but to win by 30 and then to lose by 30, that's just impossible. I don't know. Impossible.
Do you think that there's a difference between, and I'm not saying either of these is better or worse, but between guys playing now as opposed to like 20 or 30 years ago where they'd be like, we're down 20 at halftime. Why should we even exert ourselves to try to get back into the game? Let's just try to, get out of here and regroup for the next game instead of, fighting tooth and nail to cut it to 12 and
But then
end up
another-
losing by 17.
Another one of my pet peeves is a team is down 20 and they make a run and then they're up 20 in the same damn game. It's like, Jesus Christ, really? A 40-point swing in the matter of 2 quarters? Come on. So it's
That's the NBA.
whole thing, everybody's going to make a run. That's what everybody's going to make a run. And even this game 6, Golden State was down by 25 points, and I had to watch because they made a run. They made it within single digits, and they had the ball there down 8-9 points. I'm like, well, they are capable here of putting together 12 points in the course of about 65 seconds. So, Charlie, you got your Father's Day wish, I think. You wished upon a star, and you got all the things that you wanted. You got the basketball and the golf, and are you very pleased with that?
I know I have only experienced Father's Day as a child and not as an actual father, but would anything be more Father's Day than setting up all this great stuff and everything's just like, well, that was okay, but kind of underwhelming.
It would be like the Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight last year. You had the great NBA game. You had a good Kentucky Derby.
Great Padres-Rocky showdown.
Yes. By the way, go Marlins. Go Marlins. Cap off this week. I want to win this week in our pick'em.
I would also say that this is a very when you throw in Steph Curry's new Under Armour shoes that are very geared towards fathers, I'd say this has been quite the week for fathers. So
great.
True.
All the talk about Golden State being a great team, I think whether they win this or not, I think it's kind of. You lose 8 games in the playoffs. That's way over. What we
way too many. Way too many.
So
you're shitting
my Bulls. Good luck chasing my Bulls. But whatever.
And if they lose tonight, they will have lost as many games in the playoffs as they did the entire regular season.
Again, matching the '98 Vikings.
Also, no championship.
No championship.
Yeah, also, if Golden State loses, it would mean in the 4 major sports, all the teams with the greatest regular season record, that none of them would have gone on to win a title.
Good.
With the 07 Patriots, the Mariners team in 2000 or 2001 or whatever. And I don't know what hockey team it was, but I just remember reading that somewhere.
Probably the Capitals.
95, 96 Detroit squad.
I think it was a Red Wings team. I don't remember which year.
Are we going to talk about the golf? Because I have something I'd like to say.
Talk about the golf.
Can I just say something?
Picks first. Oh yeah, say whatever you want.
Okay, I have it on right now, and they've been on since they're on Fox Sports 1 this morning, and then they've been on Fox since 10 a.m. I love that there's a lot of coverage, but when you're on this early, the leaders haven't even teed off. They just showed a guy who is 25 shots back from the lead. And it was just a regular drive. He almost got it up on the green on a par 4. So I guess it's good to have all this coverage, but then you're showing shit that isn't ultimately going to matter. That guy literally has no shot at winning.
Is that right? He's not going to win.
Unless, he can finish his round with just 2 shots and still be 20 shots back. Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Golden State wins. It's as close as it could be. Within 10, and they kind of pull away and win by like 10 or 12 points. Stacking, what do you got?
On golf?
No, on the your pick, Warriors.
NBA Finals pick.
Warriors win by like 10, 12 points. It's fairly close. Fairly shit game.
It's going to be double digits one way or the other. I guess I'll go Warriors.
Show me something, Cleveland. Show me something.
I'd love to see Cleveland win because I think I mentioned this with Marcus a few weeks back about if Cleveland wins, then what's the next longest suffering city for a sports championship? I think it's the Twin Cities, but Marcus kindly reminded me that it could be Washington, D.C. But then again...
What about the Lynx?
Lynx pride!
But most people don't recognize the NBA as a legitimate sport, so they don't count.
Wow, what is this? Go for hockey? Anybody up there some go for hockey, folks?
It's been a while for them, too. It's been a while.
Not the women's team. They keep dominating.
Who do you got? 10 points either way.
I'll pick the Warriors. Draymond Green's going to have a big night tonight.
How many ball kicks? Over, under, 2.5.
I'll take the under, but it'll be 2.
Under.
Any nut shots?
Kicks or punches? I'll accept either. Kicks, punches, elbows, headbutts.
What if just a
anything.
little light tap?
Oh, count it. Count it.
And 2.
He's under a microscope, so we're even counting throwing a microscope at someone's junk at this point.
Marcus.
I am picking Cleveland. I picked them to win this series. I want them to win it. I want Golden State. They've got this kind of asshole nature to them for no real reason. It seems
No,
totally.
there's a reason. Because they won more games than anybody. That'd be a
No,
reason.
I mean I
Yeah,
realize.
Yeah,
no,
yeah, that'd be it.
I realize that they're cocky, and that's fine. But they don't need to be. That's kind of dumb, and I think it's stupid.
Does
And
Leandro Barbosa rub you the wrong way?
he doesn't rub me at all, thankfully.
Not anymore. Thank God. So you're
You
on
don't like
Cleveland.
Michael Beasley rubbing that one guy's knee?
That was
Whoa, that's not my knee? Oh, shit.
one of the great moments in NBA history.
Oh, shit. Charlie Hildebrand, what do you got?
I'm glad that Traxler picked Cleveland, because if everyone else picked Golden State, I was going to pick Cleveland. I do think it's worth noting that with Golden State up 3-1 and having lost 2, that I think all the pressure is on Golden State. I don't think pressure means as much when you're professionals, but the pressure is on the Warriors, and I think it's basically that Cleveland's playing with house money, so that could be advantageous for them. I would like to see Cleveland winning. I'm picking Golden State solely because it's at Golden State, and I'm going to say it's like I'm going to go with Golden State 102, Cleveland 97, with like a pretty good game, not like a top 5 all-time game.
I'm at the front page here of ESPN.go.com because we need to have the .go in there because it's
1997.
You'll see Mr. James here looking at the third row here. Somebody,
Mr. LeBron.
Mr. LeBitch James. It says LeBron having the best NBA Finals ever? Question mark. I mean, what? The best Finals ever. His numbers were better last year.
They didn't
I just-
win last
I
year.
I just want to mention that we should not forget that Draymond called LeBron a fuckboy in Game 5 and questioned his manhood or whatever, or maybe that was Game 4, and that's a moment in this series that should not be forgotten.
I'm a big fan of Draymond Green because he did that. Huge fan. The best.
And like I mean, LeBron he's kind of one of those guys who he's earned it, but he's also earned the right to not be called that. So it's kind of funny. He's on both sides of it, and it doesn't stop it from being funny.
And then he's done what he's done the last 2 games here. It's like, well, where was this? Games 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, well,
He wasn't desperate.
maybe you should be. Maybe you should be. Maybe you shouldn't get down 3-1. Maybe you shouldn't rely on Kevin Love doing nothing.
That's an
Absolutely
idea. That's an idea.
Not a goddamn thing. So there you go. How about that?
If Cleveland wins, does anyone else besides me like the interesting, like mirror image symmetry of Golden State being down 3-1 to Oklahoma
That's very
City
good.
and coming back to win, and then being up 3-1 on Cleveland but choking and blowing it? Like that would be. I think like if it ends up working out that way, like 5 years, 10 years from now, like that's gonna be the story.
That'll be something.
Like
man.
you know how whenever
It's
you
30
read
for 30.
stuff, you read someone writing something and they're like, "What if I told you that they were up 3-1 and yada yada yada?" You'd be like, you'd think that Golden State would beat Cleveland. It's like, nope, I'm actually talking about Oklahoma City over Golden State. I tricked you with my vague intro. There's going to be a lot of those written if Golden State loses.
I also want Cleveland to win so that LeBron and Kyrie will ice out Kevin Love in the trophy celebration, and like that's the thing I want to see.
Kevin Love comes over and they just push him out of the way.
What if?
We gotta go.
All right.
Love means 0 in tennis.
We'll see you, Nathan Stackett.
Good night, everybody.
Nathan Stackett, 2 technicals. He's out of here.
2 nut taps.
Been kicking too many guys in the balls there already. Enjoy your boots and everything else.
Get him out.
It already says. I hope Kevin Love has like 30 points and 25 rebounds, and he's the guy. And they still lose. That'd be really good. Marcus, I got 3 questions for you.
Sam.
Where are the NBA Finals going to be decided in what city?
The NBA Finals will be decided in Oakland, California.
Where was the Super Bowl decided at?
The Super Bowl was played in Santa Clara, California.
Where was the hockey?
Hockey, San Jose, California.
Very close together. Those are very close together in proximity
That's
on
a
the
thing.
map. On the map.
The Bermuda Triangle of sports.
Any FIFA bullshit soccer MLS? Where's my LA Galaxy in the standings this year?
Copa America last night, Mexico gets fucking pantsed by Chile, 7-0 in the quarterfinals. Where'd that happen at? Santa Clara, California.
They scored a touchdown. I'm not impressed.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
Illuminati.
Go Bulls. We have the.
How come there's not a sports team called the Illuminati?
Well, there will be when Las Vegas names their hockey team.
Names their hockey / basketball / How about this, Charlie? We like our little bullshit.
Would anything be more fitting than
an
an NFL team moving to San Antonio and then being like the San Antonio Illuminati?
How about if you only had to have a group of men and they all had to play the same sport? They had to play hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. They all had to play. You had a group of guys, and they all had to play.
So, like, we're not talking pro athletes. It's just like me and some friends of mine, and we've got to
No,
go
like
play
pro
a sport.
athletes. No, pro athletes.
Okay.
Pro athletes. And you represented your city, and you were the hockey / basketball / baseball / football team. And you all had to be the same.
What would you be called?
I'll limit the roster to, like, I don't know. If it's 100, you can have enough for separate teams for all of them. So let's limit it to, like 60 guys. Football team, 45 guys. A couple of guys got to play.
So some guys have to play more than one sport.
You have to play at least 2 sports.
Might have to use your left guard in the 8th inning.
I like that idea.
Goalie's got to be your center in basketball.
Oh, what do we
Protecting
got?
that net.
It'll be the Draymond
Golf,
Green. Push him out.
Shane Lowry's up, what do you got? 65 at round 3. Very good. 5
4-shot
over
lead.
3. Dustin Johnson, he'll blow it like he does his drugs. Lee Westwood, he ain't going to win. People seem to be hard on Jason Day, but we're going to need Shane Lowry to shoot like a 75 for Jason Day to do something here.
As it's been pointed out, look at this leaderboard. You got a lot of guys who have had
A lot of stars. A lot of stars here.
minimal success in major championships. What could go wrong? So it sounds great.
Where do you draw the line here? Jason Day, is he in the hunt here at 1 over, 8 shots off?
Well, he's not on this little leaderboard they have here. They got the top 6. He's not on there, so that means he's out of contention. He's not going to be in because he's not on the little leaderboard that Fox says. Fox says he's out.
Dunzo.
No, I mean, if he comes out and shoots a 66, I would imagine Lowry's going to come back to the pack, but even if Lowry shoots like a 71, he might be okay. I mean, he's going to be okay if he shoots a 71 because he'll be 6 under. So, but there's it's kind of interesting because it looks like there's chances to make up some strokes here too. But then you watch and like every fucking shot that lands on the front of the green is just rolling back 50 yards, and you're like, what? So it's definitely gotten tougher here on the last day.
Looks like a mini golf course. You put it on the green, and it
There's another one.
goes 100 yards away.
Yep.
Front, back, doesn't matter. This, what is this? This amateur that we had during the Masters, this DeChambeau, is he a guy?
He's a guy for the future, yeah. I mean, he's
Is he
not.
a guy?
He's not a guy today. He kind of had a couple tough rounds to start things out, but yeah, I mean, long term, he's
consistent.
gonna be one of those guys. He's a guy that Jim Nantz loves, if you remember from the Masters, and so that makes him a guy that we should all not like, but it's all right.
Phil Mickelson done here, folks.
Phil, goddamn it, Phil.
We're done with him.
My favorite thing was
Phil?
yesterday.
I was Phil dead ?
Phil dead exclamation point.
Put him on the list. He said yesterday his round was done, and the cut obviously wasn't set, and he was at 7 over. And he's like, "Oh, I think I'll make the cut. I would imagine I'll be fine." And then like 15 minutes later, nope, you missed it. You missed it by 1 shot. Fuck you, Phil. You're done.
With what? McIlroy did.
Quick pro and negative about the U.S. Open for me, quick. Or a con. Con, I didn't like it. We were talking about this being like the most difficult course in a long time, and there's all these guys under par. I was hoping there'd be more guys that were like, yep, I'm at +2 and I'm tied for second. But pro, I like that the course is divided by an interstate and have that huge bridge to walk to the other side.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but whenever I see guys walking over the bridge, over the interstate to this really nice and fancy golf course, it makes me laugh a little bit. I kind of like it.
Yesterday they did this where they followed Dustin Johnson, and he's walking over the bridge, and you can see all these fucking cars passing on the interstate, and you're like, this is not. You wouldn't think, like, is this the U.S. Open, or are we at some tournament in Sioux Falls?
Yeah. The Scranton Open.
You got to pick a Ohio city there, Akron or something.
Akron.
Bullshit town. 22 guys, 2+ or better, so it's not.
Well done with Akron.
It hasn't been absolute trash. And guys today shooting, 1 over, 2 over, 3 over, 2 guys under par. So if you shoot par today, par is looking like a pretty good score. So Shane Lowry, your guy. Fox coverage better this year, no difference, worse. What do we got there?
Better. Everybody loves the Pro Tracer thing, which is follows the ball and now they're using it on these fairway shots. I still really have no idea if it's right or not, but it's awesome. And they got rid of Greg Norman and they added Paul Azinger and Curtis Strange. And Azinger, I mean, he's okay, but a little of him goes a long way, so sometimes you just like him to shut the hell up. Joe Buck, he's fine. They've been a little bit better. They don't have Ollie Saunders interviewing people and giving them total puffery. So improved work for the second year, I'd say.
What is it about Fox? They ruin everything.
Well, they always like to play music over every interview they do with somebody, like in a sit-down piece. That's pretty annoying. They use basically the same music for everything, although they're not using the typical Fox Sports theme here. And also, Joe Buck is everywhere. I like Joe Buck, but a lot of people don't, and that can maybe be a problem. So
there you go.
You know what Fox does better than maybe anyone else? Like exciting promos advertising things.
It's true.
Get your heart about it.
This week on Fox.
A big robot comes out of nowhere and spikes the football. They need Cletus the robot for the U.S. Open out there on the green, chewing through the dirt.
Yum, yum, yum. Looking at the baseball standings here, I got the Indians. Schottenkirk's Indians there. They're in a battle with the Royals. We got Baltimore and Boston. Also got Eamon's Blue Jays 2 games back. And the Rangers, they are running away with the AL West. I posted in the chat a day or two ago. Looks like Texas Rangers, best team in the American League. But why does nobody care about the Rangers? They've been good for a couple of years here. And they're just running away with the deal. And they clearly look like the best team.
Because they just want to punch everybody.
Well, good. They're
Yeah,
killing folks.
I think it's good, too.
James Shields, Charlie. James Shields is fucking awful. This looks like an awful fucking trade. 3 games in, I'll give her
Could have gone better.
Hey, I don't know what the hell his deal is, but my God.
I'm happy about it.
You're happy about it. He can't get through 2 fucking innings. Man. He is awful. He's absolutely trash. Twins, they got rid of Oswaldo Arcia. Your favorite Oswaldo Arcia moment?
Probably the time he was in the dugout and he poured water all over his head and then he slicked his hair all back. That was probably it.
Do you like this move?
I think I like it a little bit more than most people. Amon kind of talked me into the fact that, he hasn't gotten any better last couple of years. He's not taking noticeable steps forward. But, I mean, there's a proven track record here of the Twins, and especially the relievers, or excuse me, the young players.
It's everybody. Everybody.
Just guys going on to another spot and doing better, where they succeed under other coaches. And if you're the Twins, that's a problem. I mean, you got to start getting rid of some of these same clowns, I think, in the front office. If you're, what is the definition of insanity? Ramming your head into the wall and getting the same result all the time. So doing the same thing over and over. And I think that's kind of what's happening with the Twins. They're not good at developing young talent. That's a serious problem.
He had 2 good years, 2 average, 2 slightly above average years, good power numbers. Last year he was doing fine. Maybe having one of his better years, lost at least average on base percentage-wise. His power was a little bit down. He only played 19 games, got hurt, and he's never heard from again, and was awful in AAA, and they had to bring him up yeah.
I mean, I do understand the argument that for a team that doesn't have a lot of power hitters, I mean, Kenny Vargas is basically dead. Nobody knows where he's at. You got Byung-Ho Park, but other than that, they don't have much for power hitters. Sano,
Miguel Sano, the big man.
He's banged up. So it's just one of those things where, and I'm sure he was out of options, so you got to make a decision on him. And Twins said, well, we'll get rid of him. And I like the people yesterday saying, well, you got rid of RC and you kept Jepson. What are you doing? Well, it doesn't exactly work like that. One's a pitcher, one's a.
They can cut Jepson anytime. I mean, that's
anytime now. Anytime.
I think this is the last year of his deal. We can eat the whatever he's making. $2 million, $3 million the rest of the year. We can get rid of this. We're wasting our time here. Hit .214 this season. OPS plus was 77. That's no good. He had 103 at bats. They signed Robbie Grossman. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's been their best hitter since he's been there the last 4 weeks or whenever. They don't need outfielders, but apparently they signed them. I mean, they've got so many fucking outfielders, it's goddamn ridiculous here. And Grossman's been very, very good. But, Dan Santana's been hurt. Buxton fucking sucks. Kepler, he's just up. He's not doing all that well. He's done okay. Like with Arcia, I would, you're going to lose 110 games here. I just put him out there every day, give him 500 at bats. If you're hitting 215 at the end of there, well, we're going to see you later. And just do it like that instead of saying, well, here's 100 at bats. You're not doing very good. You never play at all. You don't play more than a game or 2 at a time. So instead of signing in Robbie Grossman, who isn't part of the long-term future at all, maybe you put Arcia and his awful defense out there and just say, do what you do. Because right now, I mean, this roster, who the fuck thought this would work? I wanted to keep Plouffe, but then they signed Byung-Ho Park. If you sign Park, you can't keep Plouffe.
Yep.
Because Sano's got to play third, and now it sounds like Sano's done playing the outfield because he hurt his hamstring, and of course he can never play the outfield again because he's got a bad hamstring. He can never, ever again play the outfield because that injury will never, ever heal. So that's not going to happen. I think Plouffe's playing first today. It seems like you got 20 different guys here, all in the mix, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. It seems like a very poorly constructed roster right now as far as outfielders, infielders, Sano and Plouffe and Park and the fucking outfielder. It just seems like an absolute joke.
Well, for some
I just
reason,
want to say that I like your idea of like when clearly you're not going to be good this year and you're going to lose a lot of games and not be in contention for the playoffs. I'm just taking 1 or 2 guys and being like, okay, you're going to play. If you bat 265 or whatever number, if you bat here or better, we're going to keep you for next year. If you're below, we're getting ready to go. And that's all there is to it.
Like, Dan Santana apparently has to play. He's my uncle, but Dan Santana can be on the bench, and he can play twice a week. He can be a pinch runner. Put Arcia in left. Let him bring up divots the size of Oregon in that outfield. That's fine. But, It's not like Dan Santana's got to play. It's like, oh, we got to have him in the lineup. Well, Christ. Very, very poorly constructed. Any other baseball notes you'd like to mention here?
I would just like
Cubs are good.
I would just like to say
Cubs
about
are really
the Twins. I mean, sort of to your point, it seems like they have to have guys that play a bunch of positions, and they're all guys who don't play any of them really that well. And then when you can't hit, it's just like, why the hell are we doing this? What is the point? And I understand maybe sticking with your guys, but I think so much of it comes back to what a bad job they're doing getting these young guys ready. And then when the young guys aren't doing great, you don't stick with them. It's just like, give these guys a fucking chance. I realize Buxton strikes out a lot, but it's just like, he's got to get better in the majors. It can't be, well, let's send him down to AAA. Well, now he's doing good at AAA, bring him back up. Oh, now he's not doing so good. Better send him back down. It's like, how is he supposed to get comfortable or get used to anything in that way? And they have so many guys like that, where it's just like up, down, back, forth. And you wonder why Arcia didn't work, because you sent him up and down all the time. And if you're going to be bad, let's be bad, and let's get these guys to be a little bit better. And now you've been in this cycle for basically 5 years, and what do you have to show for it? Hardly anything. You have a kind of good Miguel Sano. You don't have any pitchers. You don't have
Ed Nunez. Look at Ed Nunez. Tear up.
Like we've said, trade bait if you can.
Well, if they trade him, who the fuck's Mauer's going to be their all-star if they trade him? And if it's not Mauer, they don't got anybody. They literally, if it's going to be Nunez who's going to be their all-star. If it's not, it's Mauer. And who the hell would you put third? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't have a clue.
I don't know. I mean,
Abad. It would have to be Abad.
I had been on the Abad train, and then it went very Abad yesterday. So I don't know. What more you can say.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say one more thing.
Say it.
I'm going to say two more things. They signed all these guys. They didn't sign any bullpen guys. Signed some fucking bullpen guys.
And that was. I mean, we've said this on the show before.
Christ.
That was a weakness coming into the season. It wasn't a surprise or a shocker. And pull your head out of your ass and fix the problem that you have. Because I mean, in some ways, I can be okay with them thinking that they'd be a contender this year. But it's like, you got to fix the part that's obviously you're having trouble with. They didn't do that at all.
Perkins was hurt. Now he's hurt again. Kevin Jepson, you got him. I think this is the last year of his contract, so 1 year there. And Trevor May should be a starter next year. So those are your three best bullpen options heading into the season. And literally none of them should be throwing baseballs next year. So if that is a possibility, you should sign other guys and not rely on, well, we got this guy in AA that might be a couple years out. Well, how about getting some guys now? We need some guys right now. And point number two would be, what the fuck would have been so goddamn bad of having Mauer, Plouffe, and Sano, a rotation there. You play 40 games at third, you play 40 games at first, play 40 games at DH for Plouffe and Sano. What the hell would have been so goddamn wrong with that?
I'm sure somebody would have thrown a bitch fit. I'm sure Plouffe or Mauer.
Plouffe's playing first today, I think, for the first time all year. Do some type of thing. Mauer DH and first. So
right.
Go between all three.
I would say Mauer can't DH enough. I realize that you got to have Park in the lineup because you want his bat in there too. So you got four guys in three spots or whatever. But it's just one of those guys is inevitably going to get hurt, and then the rotation is going to be down to three. So there's just got to be a way to get them all in the lineup and not involve the outfield because it's a problem.
I mean, you got to get rid of some guys or trade something, address some needs somewhere because you just have too many guys. You have guys coming up like Jorge Polanco, and you got guys in his spots in the middle infield, and somebody's got to get moved here. So it's been a bad year, but an awful year, and the pitching is just – Tyler Duffy was good. Now he's awful.
And it's the middle of June. We got 3 more months of this shit.
Bad. It's real bad. Charlie, we watched the O.J. Simpson thing. When did you wrap this thing up here?
Let's see. I watched the first episode and I think the second episode when they were aired. And then on whatever day they aired the third one, on, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. I remember it was on like at 8 or something, and then like on my cable box, like I've got ESPN, on demand, and I was just like, oh well, I heard that they're released now, and I just went in there and they were all available to watch, so I just watched them all. I watched 3, 4, and 5 consecutively on whatever day that was. I think it was a Wednesday.
A lot of hype, saying it's one of the best.
And like I said I think I said it in the Facebook chat, and it is true. I was watching Bob Ross, Joy of Painting on Netflix, and going from Bob Ross painting to O.J. Simpson was like the starkest, the biggest change in content I've maybe ever had going from one to another.
It'd be like watching 49ers Texans preseason game and watching the game tonight. Like, a bit of a difference.
I'd say it'd be like going from watching like Cinderella to watching Saving Private Ryan. Just like,
the Black Cinderella or the cartoon version?
I guess the cartoon one. I don't think I've seen the other one.
Would you say this is? Yes. What's your status update on Mr. Orenthal James Simpson documentary?
I kind of messed up. I watched the first one within about 2 hours of it airing. I DVR'd that, and I'm still getting used to this cable situation. I know I've talked about it on the show, and I thought I set up a recording for the whole series, and it turns out I didn't. So I have to watch 2 through 5 yet, because I was just kind of watch it at my own leisure, and so I'm still in the dark on that. And to be honest with you, I'm not interested in seeing the murder pictures in Part 4 anyway, so I probably will DVR one where they've got those blurred out. So that's probably the scenario I'm going to go through, because I'm just not interested in seeing that.
The only positive I would say about the pictures is they are not like, hey, let's stare at this picture for 15 seconds and talk over it. Like, they're very, very briefly shown.
Sure.
So, not saying that like you have to watch it that way now, but it is not like some places where it's just like, here's the 3 stacked next so you can see all 3 of them, and we're just going to show you this and talk about it for 4 straight minutes and slowly zoom in while it's not like that.
I don't know what the Mitchell.
You said you haven't seen them all yet. Spoiler alert: he's not convicted. But he is in the civil trial that happens later.
Yes. I'm still trying to figure out the whole Watch ESPN aspect too. So I'm not sure if I can get on there and just watch him on there either. So I know you can, but I'm not sure if my cable will allow me. So it's just kind of like, all right, well, we'll figure it out. I have tomorrow off. I have tomorrow off, so I'll just start working on that tomorrow.
What is the on-demand situation? You have like Channel 1, or what is that?
I'm not a big on-demand guy, so I don't really even have any idea, but I could look.
Like for Midco, like it was for Mediacom, it's Channel 1. It looks the same, and like Charlie said, that's where I went, and it's up there. I think I'm gonna watch these instead of waiting for them on.
Let's see here. Where is it? Yeah.
Was Charlie? Did this live up to the hype as one of the best things, one of the best 30 for 30s, or one of the best documentaries that you've seen?
I mean, it's tough to say because, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I watch a lot of documentaries. Most of the ones I watch on Netflix are like historical or biography ones. They're not about like issues and stuff in general. It's definitely it's one of the best ones I've seen, but it's so.
Or just as far as shows, period.
It's so exhaustive. It's just like, it would be like if you would take like some 16-year-old kid who'd never heard of any of it. We're gonna literally tell you everything you would need to know, starting with 20 years before it even happened, just to set the stage and go, not just through the trial, but for like the next decade after, or 15 years after that, just so like we're literally going to give you everything.
Well, the one thing I would say about this is that they have so much time that they gave this.
Like
there's so few documentaries that can have that kind of time, and the fact this is on this is on TV. You could watch over five installments. I mean, this is Ken Burns like stuff. And to be honest with you, most of Ken Burns stuff isn't as interesting as this. It's just you're not going to sit.
Interviews.
Yeah, you're just not going to sit down and watch. If you're going to watch the baseball thing with 10 innings, that's pretty exhaustive. But it doesn't even scratch the surface. Whereas, like Charlie said, this is 7.5 hours on O.J. Simpson, and it adequately covers the whole thing. So it's and I think it's gotten a lot of people talking, which is great. And this is I think it's just really interesting. But it's just really rare that people can enjoy something like this, because a lot of people just won't sit down and watch it.
Yeah, no, I've watched 3 of the Ken Burns things on Netflix: Baseball, The War, and the Civil War one. The War's one on World War II. And like the Civil War one was good, but it drags at times, dealing with stuff that's obviously before you did it and stuff like that. And I don't know, this one was, there weren't any times where I was just like, okay, this has been boring for the last 15 minutes. It was, I don't know, it was weird, but it was very well done.
What episode was your favorite?
That's a good question.
I know what mine is.
I don't know if I have a favorite one. I like that other than 3 and 4 were kind of similar in certain ways, but the other ones were just also different. The first one is, this is OJ along with problems with the LAPD in Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s or whatever. And the second one was like, okay, this is OJ where maybe he's not as good of a guy after all. And the fifth one, like, I didn't know this ahead of time, but like I figured it was going to be like, okay, the trial's done and here's 15 minutes to wrap it up, where it's like, nope, trial's done and we've got a whole nother hour and a half episode.
I
don't know. I don't know if I could give you an answer. I could honestly, if either one, I know Traxler hasn't seen all of them yet, but if either of you made like an impassioned case, like this one's the best, I could be swayed fairly easily. I thought they were all pretty good.
But 4 was my favorite. That was all the trial stuff and a lot of stuff I didn't know, specifics like the one detective guy. The trial was basically about the one detective guy and whether or not he was a racist, and he was, and that was a big part of the deal there, even though it had nothing to do with him killing his wife and his wife's friend. Episode 5 was different because it was just different. I thought episode 2 was probably just the worst of it, as far as like, it was just like the least newsworthy of the 5.
I mean, I would say though.
But the second one's also got the interview with Roy Firestone, which is kind of interesting looking back on it. And then, I don't know, this is just the thing that stuck out to me. They used this one shot in a promotion for all of it. Is there's this point where, like, you see OJ and, like, he puts his hand up to his face, and he's just got this, like, I don't know if he meant it at the time, but it's just, like, such a sinister look he has. So in the promotional stuff, whenever they were saying, like, anything, they wanted a shot of OJ not looking happy. Like, that was the shot they always use. And it was just like, oh, my God, that guy looks like he's crazy there.
I need to tell you what my favorite part of the film is, and it's even without watching the other 4 installments, because it actually is in one of the promos, and it's it's one of his friends who he was in part 1 a lot. I'm guessing he's in the whole thing, and he's kind of got this hoarse, raspy voice. Yep. And he's talking, and then in the promo they're like, OJ, I said, OJ, you're betraying God, and I just love that. Like, last week I've just been thinking about it randomly. Where he's just like, OJ, I said, OJ, you're betraying God.
I think he said you're breaking the laws of
You're
God.
breaking the laws
Same
of God.
thing.
Yes, God damn it. Anyway,
it's the guy with the funny voice saying that.
I think that guy's mostly in the first one. He's in some of the other ones,
right.
but obviously mostly in the first one, because that's dealing with him, like, growing up and before he was in the NFL and stuff.
What I enjoyed,
I need to run, but appreciate your time. We'll probably have to do some sort of replacement show next week, right?
Oh, tell us about the show. We're not going to do a Google Hangout, however.
There will probably be some sort of podcast or multiple podcasts that could be spliced together. Mr. Krins and I will be on location. So,
In Denver,
And a
Colorado.
round of applause for compiling the dead list. Draxler.
thank you. You guys can talk
I would
about
put that on par with the LJ doc.
some of it's not. It won't go on the blog because some of it's pretty inappropriate, but it's good content for us to enjoy. So
Like you could do a similar one with the predictions and stuff that could go on the blog.
yeah, that could go on the blog. It's just a matter of like searching
Trying
the
to
right
find-
things and trying to find all that stuff. Which like the Vikings. I bet the Vikings have been mentioned in our chat 1,000 times. So how the hell are you going to find all that stuff? That would take a pretty, or the Twins. I mean, those are going to be that's a lot of research you'd have to do. So
If the Twins are 5 games over by August 5th, they don't get on board. They don't get
That's right. They gotta go. They gotta go 3-3 this week. If they don't, I'm out.
That's right. Good
All
fun.
right. Enjoy, guys.
All right. And we'll be in Denver next week watching Rockies baseball against Arizona and seeing Hammond do whatever the hell Hammond does. I liked
Maybe
Al-
wearing an ice diaper.
Very well. It is actually going to be 95 fucking degrees out there. Starting like earlier this week is what was the start of. So we have to go similar to Kansas City in early September, where it was hot as a son of a bitch over Labor Day weekend. We get to wherever we go, it just has to be 95 degrees at all times. Al Michaels was on the phone there. They showed the clips of the chase from the helicopter, and he's a buddy of his apparently. And what I enjoyed was Al Michaels was like, there were no signs that this could ever happen. Meanwhile, basically the entire second episode is call after call after call of like 10, 12 different domestic disputes. And I'm like, yeah, there were no signs. There were a million signs. There were a dozen signs that this was just going to happen because it was basically, I saw one person say, this was basically the second or third episode was all of his friends getting together and telling stories about how he beat his wife and how they didn't do anything about it. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
Like, oh yeah, we knew she was getting beat out of her and all this, but we didn't do anything about it. So, yeah. Very good documentary. How did he not get convicted? What did you take from that?
I don't know. The most, maybe this is the most interesting thing about it, is hearing who, I mean, like, I know some people that are smart guys, but if you're not a lawyer, I mean, you can't be like Stephen A. Smith and be like, I clearly could have won this trial. Because if you're not a lawyer, you don't know the rules. And if a lawyer knows the rules against one who doesn't, they'll just be like, no, I object. They didn't do this. That's not legal. And it'll screw everything up. But aside from that, people, like, I've just heard, like, people say so many weird things about it. Like, oh, like, well, they needed to do this and they needed to do this. And I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, maybe that. They kind of made it seem like in the documentary that some of the jurors had maybe made up their mind before the trial even started that they were not going to convict him, which would certainly make it more difficult to win. There were 2 jurors. I think it was just 2 that they showed repeatedly. Yep. I mean, I don't want to say younger. I mean, you know, maybe middle-aged. I mean, she could. I don't know how old she is. She could be 40. She might be 50. And then another lady that's significantly older. And it seemed like the younger lady kind of forth on it some. And it seemed like the older lady kind of just had her mind set up at the beginning where she was like, nope, he's not guilty. Which ideally is not what you would want with a trial. I mean, I'm not a lawyer or a legal expert, but my understanding is you do not want that.
8 of the...
You heard this joke before, but that the problem, you know, like, in theory, the U.S. justice system should, I think at times it does work well. But the problem is with a trial is you are putting all your faith in people who were not smart enough to get out of jury duty in the first place.
because they went through this whole process of like, they interviewed like hundreds of people, thousands of people to try to get this jury pool, and this trial was going to last 6, 7, 8 months, and who the hell can take that much time off of work? So they had to kind of lower their standards, so to speak. They had 8 female African American jurors on the deal, and like you said, the old lady was like, "No, Rodney King, nothing happened there, so this was payback for that, and we're going to get him for this." And the younger lady was more like, "Well, the prosecution was just not very good, so that's why I voted against them."
I've never been on jury duty, so I don't know what they instruct you to do. But like technically, it shouldn't be which side's better. It should just be what you think happened. This has been presented, but of course, it's easy for us where we were children who didn't care about this at all when it happened to look back on it but.
And they tried to make that one detective out to be a racist, and then his tapes were released. And I said earlier, none of that had anything to do with if OJ killed these people or not. It was all about, well, this guy planted the glove, and that was what they went with. And that's basically, one of the big themes of it. Also, when the one lawyer, the token black lawyer is how they kind of put it, said, okay, we're going to have him try on the glove. And they say it was a bad idea. Yes.
Yeah.
They say it was a bad idea because, like, once he gets the gloves on, I mean, they at least from what I saw, they fit him. They fucking fit him good enough to where you could use them. And he does.
We can debate to what degree they fit, but they're clearly functional.
Yes.
Like it's not like it's 8 sizes too small where you can't get it on. He can clearly get it on his hand.
And he does the whole deal, and they went through it kind of acting, trying to, I got to get these gloves on, and they won't fucking fit. How am I getting these gloves on? And he finally does get them on at the end, and they look fine to me. He's got the little latex gloves underneath. And they said about how, I'm not going to take my arthritis medicine here for the next couple of weeks because if they make me try on these gloves, I can't bend my fingers in. That'll help the cause there. Well, apparently he did that, and that was the deal.
Along with the latex glove, or the glove he's got on underneath, making it more difficult to put the glove on, too.
I would say it was a big risk to put the glove to have that happen, because if what happened, there's a chance, well, he maybe didn't do it, but if it does fit, well, then that's basically end of story right there. Would you have been as bold as to say, put these gloves on? Knowing basically you are the favorite. I mean, I don't think the risk was worth the reward in that instance. Even though it may not have made a difference anyway.
On it are kind of blurred, or I should not blurred, but affected by what happened. Since I know what happened, it's tough to put the genie back in the bottle. But yeah, I would say that I probably would not have, because I don't think you need to. Like you can just measure his hand, and then you can measure the size of the glove and be like, well, yeah. I mean, this is the kind of glove, the size he'd want, and this is the size of the glove he'd have to have. So you don't need to put it on.
Do you think it would have made a
kind of
difference?
Like they said, it's one of those things that if it works perfectly, it helps you a little bit, but I don't know how much it truly helps you. Or if it doesn't work, it really, in the eyes of the people who weren't smart enough to get out of jury duty. So there's far more risk than reward for the defendant side. It's like they can spin things however they want.
I don't think if they don't do the glove thing, I still think they say, oh, he didn't do it. I don't think it would have mattered anyway, since you said
you're probably right.
Their mind was made up. The Johnny Cochran, of course, died a few years ago, so they had mini Johnny Cochran talk for him basically the whole time. And
who, in some ways, seemed like the ultimate sleazy, dirty, gross lawyer. But I've got to say, I respected that he was more honest than I think a lot of lawyers would be. That they're just like, oh well, blah blah blah. I wouldn't. And there were a few times where he was just like, yep, that's what we did. Most notably, when they replaced the. I don't know why they were going to his house in the first place. Going to his house doesn't make any sense at all.
Because the murders were
To
not
me.
at his house, so what the hell does that matter?
But and then again, the only law class I've ever taken was media law, which clearly is not what this is related to. But so I don't know why they're there in the first place. But obviously they were at his house, and he had, whole first 2 episodes setting up is that as he got more famous, apparently most of his friends were white guys, just with white people, and they took them all down and replaced them with black people. And what the lawyer's name, this guy that said it, when he said if we would have had a Hispanic jersey, there would have been a picture of him in a sombrero, and we'd have a mariachi band outside. That did make me laugh and made me think, yeah, I suppose if you were a lawyer, this is what you would do. He also mentioned that what's her name, that Marcia Clark was like, "Oh, you clearly did this, and this is not fair and wrong," and he was just like, "Oh, how dare you," and acted angry about it, and then was like, "Yeah, clearly, of course, that's what we were doing." That's exactly it.
Hang a pinata from the top of the staircase there. Take a whack at that. What else as far as the deal? He gets the main theme that I got from the deal is here is a black guy that doesn't want to associate with black people once he gets famous, and all of his friends are rich white guys. But then when he is charged with the murders, he becomes the face of the black movement of discrimination in the courthouse, even though he's not representative of that whatsoever. And you could not have used a worse example to get back at the authorities and the law for getting this rich black guy off of nothing. That's basically the overriding thing. That's the biggest thing I took from it.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I know there were, and again, I know I was alive during the Rodney King thing. If I ever heard about it, it went in one ear and out the other because I was a kid and didn't care at all. Kind of odd that there were a lot of people that were like, "This is." I don't remember if someone said it, but like, "This is King," which I'm not commenting on really either way, but Rodney King did 2 people, and technically you shouldn't weigh crimes against each other, but if you were, is not the same as murdering 2 innocent people. But
the 5th part, I mean, they were all basically 5 separate parts, but you could have done a 30 for 30 just on post-trial stuff, which is basically what they did with the 5th part. They showed the murder pictures. I mean, they were as graphic as you could get, and I mean, we both watched it on demand, so I assume that was the exact same thing that people saw if they watched last night or a couple nights ago. They showed nudity, people dropping F-bombs. I mean, this was HBO-esque here. They didn't leave anything out, which I thought was good.
It seems, and this is just what I've noticed with watching things in the past, whenever they do the viewer discretion is advised, this is going to be really inappropriate maybe,
and it's not.
Is they do that, and then it seems, well, no, I was going to say that when they do that, I've seen it a lot of times where okay, so we're going to swear a lot more now, so the swearing didn't surprise me as much. The violence was surprising a little more so, but not super surprising. But the nudity was the most surprising to me, because I've seen where they've done this on TV before, and if they're naked, they're okay, well, they're naked, but they blur it out or put a bar over it or something, but they didn't even do that.
And I don't know.
Surprise me.
And I don't know what the hell they were showing when they showed that. I don't know.
It looked like
rap. No,
it was a rap. Yeah, I was gonna say some kind of rap video, I guess.
He's dressed up as a pimp. It just got weird. No
The fifth one's really weird because I mean I don't know, maybe you're different, but I would imagine that most people would have thought of this like at least in similar terms to me, like our age, where it'd be like, okay, there was a trial, didn't pay attention to it because I was a kid and didn't care, or he was found not guilty, and that some people talked about it, still didn't care. He lost the civil trial. I don't really care about that, but I knew those two things. And then it was basically nothing. The Las Vegas incident where he got convicted for that. Like everything in between those two, like I didn't know anything that happened. And it was just very odd. I think it's safe to say that we would probably be in the majority, assuming that he did kill Ron. But so seeing a guy getting away with murder, okay, I'm going to try to do this and blow or whatever. Like basically just did the opposite. You know, instead of like laying low and being like, okay, got away with that. Now it's time to try to get back to normal stuff. It's just like, whatever. I'm going to play with the house money and I'm going to let it ride.
And he basically, after the trial, it was like, we're just going to go back to normal. We're going to start, signing autographs and being a big star like he used to be, and we're going to go back to normal. That obviously wasn't going to happen. Was it more of a penalty for him to spend the rest of his life in jail, or that he got to go out there for like 15 years and he got to be, everybody shunned him and a lot of people didn't want anything to do with him because they all knew that he killed his wife? What was it? That was an interesting difference there.
Yeah, I mean, to us, I think obviously is like regular people, who aren't sociopaths like OJ. The going to prison is worse, but to him and his ego getting shunned by everyone might have been worse in his mind. I don't know. And we both, grew up in South Dakota where, it's, and I don't know, but like I'm assuming that you knew or heard of like someone general area who maybe got like, or at least accused of some serious crime, like maybe not as serious as murder, but something. And then everyone's just like, yep, we're not going to go over there, and they're not going to come over to cookouts anymore, or things like that.
I did like the lawyer guy was talking about, because at the time when this latest thing happened, it was, I thought, wow, he got 33 years for this. This seems like a little excessive, and it probably was. And then the one guy's like, yeah, he got 33 years because the civil suit was $33 million and all this. I'm like, I don't know if I go that far. Probably got a little bit more than he deserved. If he doesn't bring a gun with him or have the guy that has the gun with him, he probably doesn't get 33 years, for Christ's sake. Maybe it's, 10 to 15 or whatever. So maybe don't bring the gun with you. But I thought the guy was a little nuts.
When you've got a scenario where someone's pulling out a gun and putting it to a guy's forehead, it's tough to be like, I don't know, shouldn't have been this much. I mean, and maybe it shouldn't have been 33, but I think I could be wrong. My recollection is he said it should have been like a 2-year sentence tops. I was like, yeah, I don't think you get 2 years in prison for guns and threatening people.
And they had the one gray-haired guy who was kind of the orchestrator of this memorabilia get-together, and he kind of was like the orchestrator of it, and he's kind of like the guy that set it up, and he kind of got out scot-free, and he was kind of like the guy that, in the end, got OJ kind of caught, kind of. This weird, freaking long-haired, gray-haired dude.
The thing that stuck out to me the most about that was just like how incredibly sleazy they all seemed. Like even the guy who got robbed seemed sleazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy was weird. And then he was talking about it. He was like, nah, I didn't rat out on anybody. And then like 5 minutes later, it's just like, yeah, I guess I did. What are you talking about? Although I did kind of like the one part too where he's watching something and like on TV and comes out and OJ's like, what? They're going to make a show? That won't last. And I wish OJ was right that it did not last, but unfortunately it has.
Like, I don't know how much this Kardashian guy was in that FX thing. He really didn't mention him at all. They showed him a couple times. Basically, once the trial starts, I mean, he's there. You barely see him, but he's not one of like the lawyers that they focus on. They focus on at least a good 15, 20 minutes, but he's like not even relevant. Like, he didn't do anything according to this.
Yeah, I watched some of the FX show. I don't remember. I quit watching it at some point because it was like something happened and one of them didn't record, so I couldn't see the next one, and I didn't want to skip over it, and then I just was kind of like, eh. So I don't know. I saw 3 or 4 of them. He was in the 3 or 4 I saw, though, of the FX thing. Ross from Friends as Robert Kardashian was in it quite a bit.
So it doesn't, and they had the old ass lawyer guy get up there, do his thing. They had the one other lawyer that was big into the forensics of it, and it's like they were position coaches for a football team. You're the offensive line coach, you're the offensive coordinator, you're the defensive coordinator. You each focus on this thing, get up there and do whatever you have to do there.
You'd put it that way. I would say like they were each basketball team where like was the swing guy who scores all the points like Michael Jordan or somebody like that, and one of them was in charge of like getting or I don't know. I guess these analogies I guess don't really matter. Yours is probably better than mine anyways.
Yeah, Johnny Cochran was like the head guy, and then he says something about Hitler at the end, and everybody loses their mind.
Yeah.
And with the Robert Shapiro guy, he's like, "Yeah, this was awful. I don't want anything to do with this ever again." They just kind of write him off there. Once the trial is done. So
I also thought it was. I think they only mentioned it once, but they were estimating that OJ's lawyers cost him $50,000 a day.
Think about that math.
Think about that where, the trial, like, I don't know how long it was before the trial actually started, but clearly you're paying for the lawyers before the trial starts because they're still doing stuff. Although they might not have all been involved at that point, so it might have been a little bit less. But you go 6 or 7 months at $50,000 a day. By my quick math, that means every 20 days you're spending $1 million on a lawyer. So that means 20 for $1 million or $1 million for 20 days. That means 60 days would be $3 million. So for 2 months, you're essentially talking $3 million. So you're talking, $6 million or so ish in 6 months. Like, you've got to be pretty wealthy. That in addition to, I guess I don't know exactly how it works when you get arrested. I'm assuming that his manager or somebody was still taking, paying whatever bills and other stuff he needed to pay for at the same time. Well, he had to pay to his first wife. So, I don't know, but you think about it like you can be rich, but you have to spend that much money. Like it quickly turns into like, well, we'll see how much money you really have.
And they show him signing autographs in jail. Say, well, he was doing this in jail, and he was making $10,000 or whatever on these autographs every few months or however that went. And he was doing everything he could to make the most money possible. And apparently this $33 million civil suit, they never really said how much the family got from it. They took away his house. I don't know if they had to tear it down. I thought, maybe sell the house.
Yeah, that was weird
money.
why it got torn down. Yeah, I thought that was really weird.
How about we sell this thing for $5 million or whatever and give the family that money? No, we'll just tear it down, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know how. And the father and the father of the guy, he's just terrific with his mustache and his off he is, and he's at every single goddamn O.J. Simpson trial there's ever been. He's sitting right there in the back row. That's great. And so
Just
they never said
online, some people didn't like, and they were like, "Why is he going?" And I was, I was like, I
because
don't
they
know. I
killed
guess
his
I
son.
can,
Jesus
I can,
Christ.
I can see why you would do it. I mean, it didn't seem that crazy to me. If he was like, "No, this guy did this, and I'm not going to let him get away with it." And I mean, you take it to even the next step is that they won the civil case, and they went into a little bit of detail on this, but how like apparently, and all these guys were like, okay, they're gonna come and repossess all this stuff, so we're just gonna take all this and go somewhere else with it, so they can't take it.
So I have no idea how much of that $33 million they actually got. They had the one white guy, like his agent. He was one of those guys that took some of his stuff, and he was kind of interesting.
Ultimately, like, or no, sorry, go. I'll ask later. Go ahead with your point. I don't want to get.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Or I was just gonna say, like, into it, if you would rank like interview for this, like I think it's safe to say that you would have like the more famous names coming up first, but it ends up like the manager, nearly as famous as a lot of these other people, but ends up being, I think, one of the 3 or 4 most important people they interview, because basically starting in part 2 or whatever, like here's a guy that was around him like all the time and could tell you all sorts of stuff, all the way into where a lot of the people that are far more famous, like Marcia Clark or the guy who was the district attorney. So like important and a big deal, but it's for not as wide of a scope of time, I guess.
You would obviously, the one person you would love to talk to is the guy himself in this thing, but that obviously didn't happen. His kids, that would have been interesting to see what his kids would have said. There's some people that have been dead. Johnny Cochran would have been nice. Like any other person they didn't really talk to, that would have been, Marcus Allen would have been nice for his thoughts and his situation.
I didn't know anything about. I mean, there were a lot of things in this I didn't know about at all. Definitely didn't know about the Marcus Allen angle to it.
That was terrific. I don't know if there's a man with more balls. Is this O.J. Simpson? Is this the ballsiest move that's ever been done? He shows up at his wife's funeral with his kids. Is that the ballsiest thing you've ever seen in your life? Besides the Seahawks throwing the ball on the 2-yard line with 30 seconds to go in the Super Bowl, I can't recall anything as ballsy as this man doing that.
Probably. There's probably, a lot of times people say there's a fine line. This mean that like it's a blurry line because you're not really sure where it is. At least for me, I would say there's a blurry line between ballsy and incredibly stupid. It's probably both. I know in the FX show, they made a point that is there like not only was it surprising that he's here, but he also brought his lawyer. Shapiro was his head lawyer at the time, but he brought his lawyer, Robert Shapiro, with him there, and how just incredibly. And I mean, I don't know. It's tough to get into the mind of a crazy person, because if you're not crazy, you're looking for things that make sense and connect logically, and crazy people a lot of time don't think that way. He was just being like, hey, I'm the juicy, and if I don't show up, it'll be weird, because why wouldn't I show up to my wife's funeral? So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that was his thought process.
To play innocent, I didn't do anything, so why wouldn't I show up at this person's funeral? And at the end it was like, we're gonna find out who he said. I'm gonna find out who this killer is. I just wanted some person, because they didn't follow up with that at all. Like, was there any other? I mean, there was no other evidence to suggest anybody else was there. I just wanted one person to say, yeah, we nothing happened. It was him, and then they said it was him. But it's like there wasn't anybody else, no other suspects, because the evidence was so overwhelming in favor of one place or the other. So
Marcia Clark said, I think more than one time during the thing, that it was like the most evidence they ever had, and like she thought it was going to be like one of the most open and shut cases she'd ever had.
Yeah. I mean, blood in his vehicle, blood, his own blood, the glove. They don't know where he was when he was apparently on a plane to Chicago right after it. Was apparently the deal.
No.
Apparent
Point in the show of like when, and I don't remember if they mentioned this in the documentary or not, but when like they found like the police called him to tell him she died because he was the next of kin, and there wasn't like a shocked like what, I can't believe she's dead, or like two things you almost always hear are they're either shocked and surprised and how did this happened, or they say what happened, and he didn't do either of those. Like he just was kind of like okay, and that was a something that stuck out to whoever made the phone call. Now obviously that's television, that doesn't necessarily mean it worked out that way, but
and he was a guy, O.J. Simpson.
and
Was
then
a guy that was,
they thought that he had a cut on his, that the killer would have a cut on his hand, and he magically had a cut on.
Yeah.
They I didn't know this, but that the footprints they left were some like super ultra rare shoe that there were only like 300 of, and he happened to have a pair of those.
Like if you're on that jury and you see all that stuff, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's obvious beyond doubt. He was a friend
Also,
of the police.
speaking of the jury, I did not know that after the trial was over, some guy did like the Black Power fist afterwards. That I did not know, and it was a little surprising.
That was odd. He was a friend of the police department. His one police department buddy. So I found it odd that the police, this racist police officer, would frame him, like they tried to claim. One final question. Apparently, he is up for parole next year. Do you think he gets out? He is 70 years old.
He gets out. I mean,
This time or ever.
You would want to think that every trial and every case, and there's never like, well, we got this wrong, so we got to make up for it here, because then you start like keeping track of score and you get all sorts of problems. So you'd want everything to be its own thing. I kind of have a feeling like with this though that that there's a lot of like, nope, screwed up this time. We're not letting this happen again. So like I don't have any into it at all. I don't think I think he's gonna die in prison.
Will there be one more interview with him, maybe? Should there be? Is there anything else to cover?
If he confesses,
which
some people think he will, some people don't think he will. I don't know whether he will or not, but certainly if he did, that would be. And I think there were a lot of things they made obvious throughout the whole thing. One of them was that he truly, like, a lot of people like the spotlight. It seems like he loved the spotlight more than most people, even people that really like it. And whether, and they always say, no new or any press is, or all press is good press, or whatever, or no press is bad press, or whatever. I don't know if I would completely agree with that, but for him, if he wants to be in, that would be a way to do it.
Yeah, his book deal there was interesting, and the one I think the one whatever magazine or whatever hell she wrote for was like telling him, or yeah, maybe somebody helped me do it, or if somebody, maybe somebody else was there. So he did all these things, and again, I would have turned left on this street, not right like they thought I did. So he was kind of like, the one guy thought that he was telling him exactly what happened. So I don't know how much of that is true or not. But I don't know what the next 30 for 30 is, but is it one of those things where, like, once you get done watching a great show, then the next show that you watch, even if it's still really good, it's like, well, it's not as good as this show I just watched. It's like, well, I got to replace Tom Brady. I might be really good, but I'm not going to be as good as him.
Yeah. I think there's going to be an element of that, especially because, like, I think you could have something that would be roughly as good as this, but it's different because it's so much longer. As the more it seems like capture your imagination more. I mean, like, I know you don't probably follow movies as much as I do, but like with movies, if like there's a really good movie, you're like, oh yeah, that was fun and I liked it. But like with the TV show, you just spend so many more hours watching a TV show because there's more episodes, and it's easier to kind of, you know, get enthralled with it. Where this, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, the longest 30 for 30s before this were like 2 hours long. I don't know if there were any more than 2 hours.
That's about the
like essentially 4 times as much material. And like, I don't want to say like the only reason it's good, it's long. Like, it was put together very, very well and very, very good.
I saw the director guy, whoever put it together, did an interview. He's like 40, 45 years old. This very, very good. Lots of awards that he won. It was tremendous. I think later this fall, maybe next year, there's going to be a Ric Flair 30 for 30, which I'm interested in. That should be tremendous. I will say, I'll go out on the limb and say next year he will be out of jail. This man will be walking the goddamn streets again. Because let's do it one more time. Let's get let's do it again. Do the whole deal. With the as we started the thing with the storyline of the finals, I'm going to go with the storyline of he gets out, because that's a better story than him just staying in jail for the next 20 years. There we go.
And he could get out. I mean, like,
he probably shouldn't, but you know.
And this is the other thing where it gets like weird too. Like, you don't want killers walking the street, obviously. I think at 70, I think it's unlikely he would kill anybody again. And like how I say this, because I don't want to like condone any of the crappy things that he's done. But for, you know, beating your wife is really bad. Oh, it was only one time, and I mean, let me rephrase this. He's a crappy guy. He's not like a serial killer, though, I don't think. Just meaning, if he gets out, I don't think he would kill anybody again, especially at the age of 70.
You wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. But also, you know, after he got away with murder, you wouldn't think he'd go down to Florida and go on these cocaine-fueled binges. And, you know, like, I guess he had a hidden, like, prank reality hidden camera show thing.
What the hell was that? What was that on? Was that ever aired? When was this? That was just.
But it was like one. He was like holding a sign, and it was like, "You want some orange juice from OJ or something like that."
I thought it was just. What?
He was like dressing like he was dressing up as a white guy, like an old white guy. And I think this was before they mentioned that it was for this show. And I was like, because this is where he'd already done a lot of weird stuff. And I was like, is he dressing up as like Ron Goldman's dad to make fun of him? Like, that's what I thought he was doing. And I was just like, how fucking crazy are you?
He's like a fast food worker in the drive-thru, and he takes a sip of the guy's drink before he hands it to him. So like, watch murderer O.J. Simpson pull pranks on unexpected people. That's look like a Saturday Night Live skit, but tremendous. And who knows, in this day and age of whatever the fuck's on TV, maybe they do a show on OJ where they just follow him around, keeping up with the Simpsons. Let's get hard about that.
And apparently, I didn't realize, you know, as a kid, like how much media followed for the trial. I mean, like, to an extent I did, but not really. I didn't know that this FX show and this documentary were going to be like, figured there'd be like some people that would watch it, but didn't think it would get the following and the national attention that it did. So, like, I'm not saying this will happen, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they were just like, hey, like an OJ TV show, like not following him around like what you said, but let's just have like 20 episodes of just him through his life doing stuff, and we'll just reenact what we thought happened through all sorts of different things. Like, it sounds bad to me, but, things like if someone said, like, yeah, you know what, we're going to try that. We're going through casting for some different people. Like, I wouldn't be point anymore.
I like that this happened the week of the chase, since this is what the anniversary, the 22nd anniversary, 1994 this week. So that was.
I didn't even realize that.
It was very, very good. Hard to be topped. And I'm glad they did it during the summer when there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot to talk about. And as we've spent well over an hour these last 2 weeks talking about this. And I recommend Marcus, hopefully he gets to watch it. Stack, I think, watched maybe a little bit of it. Shattenkirk said he really didn't care at all. But I thought this was very, very, very good. So
now let's do the thing where we just talk about 2 or 3 things that stuck out to us as interesting or odd in the whole thing.
Him going to his wife's funeral was, oh fuck, that was something.
True.
Like just the weird shit he did it afterwards. It's weird.
I was thinking more like of just like what in the documentary, like what people said, but certainly I don't want to limit you to what you thought was weird.
I've kind of mentioned what kind of the things I thought were weird, or
thing I thought was weird was like the reaction that some of the people got. Like a lot of stuff talking bad about Mark Furman doesn't surprise me. That completely makes sense, and I get that. But there have been some people that have been like, "Oh, Marcia Clark's the worst, and I hate her, and she's terrible," and I was just like, "Huh." Like I guess I'm a little surprised that some people are like angry and holding judges or, like 20 years later at her. But, there's 300 million people in America. So, obviously everyone's offended by something and there's weird people.
It seemed like the old black lady hated the later lady lawyer, like from the get-go for some reason. I have no idea why.
The weirdest thing I thought that she said was she said something about when they were talking about how Clark, and logically this makes sense. If I was a prosecutor, this is what I would think that I would do. Is like, okay, I'm going to go through and we're going to show all the times that he beat Nicole Brown, and then the old lady was just said something to the effect of like, I don't have any respect for a woman that routinely takes an ass beat or gets her ass beat or whatever. So I just didn't care about that or something something to that effect. I just remember being like, well, regardless of that, for people, it's against the law.
That's like the biggest thing. He beat his wife a dozen times or whatever, and she called the police all these times. That's like the big precursor to the murders. That's like, he did this. There's a history of him doing this, so it's not unexpected that he would do something like this. I did like that the lawyer was covering his other trial, whenever that was, 7-8 years ago, and she was like covering it for some media outlet or Entertainment Tonight or whatever, and they see each other in the cafeteria and like, hello, you go their separate ways. Like, oh yeah, you lawyer lady and you killer guy. Very good.
That's right. That was kind of odd and interesting. Also, I don't remember if I mentioned this, if we talked about it last week or not, but they were, and if I did, feel free to stop me. They were talking about all the things that happened in 1968, like all the big civil rights things and everything, and I'm not disputing that, but they asked some guy who played at USC with OJ at that time, and they're like, when you think of 1968, what do you think of? And he was like, well, I think about us. That is like a bad thing. I was just like, well, if you played college football for a team that wins your conference and plays in the Rose Bowl and has the Heisman Trophy winner, of course that's what you're going to think. Like, if you asked, like, I don't know if as big of a 2010, but if you asked anyone in 2010 from Auburn, Alabama, like what happened, like Cam Newton. And I think, I just remember thinking that was kind of odd.
What do you remember from September 11th, 2011? Oh yeah, I took a shower, went to work that day, had a nice day, all that stuff.
And I would say,
Yeah,
if most people you ask about 2001, they would say that. I bet if you asked a bunch of people who played football at Miami, though, would be like, oh, yeah, we won the national title that year.
And like USC is like in a bad part of the city, but USC itself is kind of cornered off into a nice part. It's like nice while everything around it is not. So
I'd heard that before, but had not ever seen it kind of demonstrated as such, which was kind of interesting. Another thing I thought was like sort of weird, and I'm not saying I don't want to I'm criticizing the director as he shouldn't have done this, because do something even remotely in the same universe as this. But I thought it was kind of odd that they had I think it was the first one where they talked about one of his friends going to talk to OJ's dad and it heavily implying that his dad was gay. And then they left and they went somewhere and they were joking about it because it was the 60s and people did that. Kind of I think they mentioned once that he didn't want one of his kids talking to some guy at dinner that was gay, I guess, and he beat up his wife for it. But those were the only two times that was ever at all.
Yeah.
Thinking not saying you can't bring that up, but it seemed odd to bring it up and it not really having a big thing. The other thing was for all the stuff it was exhaustive in talking about, it really didn't talk at all about his first wife, or it mentioned that one of his daughters drowned, I guess, in a pool, and they talked about that a little bit, but they didn't really talk about the rest of that. I thought was, and also his relationship with his mom. There were a few times they mentioned some things, but those if I would even call those gripes, those would be the slightest minor.
I assume his wife is still alive, the first one.
Second one is not.
Yes. Obviously, she probably wouldn't want to talk about it anyway. So that would have been interesting.
And maybe it could be something that they wanted to interview her and have her shed light on some things. And she was just like, nope, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Yeah. And then they just didn't really have too much else they wanted to deal with that.
So, they talked to pretty much everybody alive. They didn't talk to the black lawyer on the prosecution side. There were two other people that they didn't talk to. I read an article about it where it's these were two people alive that they didn't talk to. That Robert Shapiro, they didn't talk to him, did they? No.
No, he was Cochran, and all the stuff you saw of him was just him giving interviews from 20 years earlier or whatever. Which, and the other thing that surprised me in a good way was I didn't realize how much footage of things this guy just found or had access to in some way, shape or form. They had access to someone videotaping when OJ got home after he was found not guilty. I don't know how he got that, but I was just oh wow, that's I don't know. I don't know how he got it, but it was definitely interesting.
I assume it has something to do with just cameras being more prevalent in the last 20 years. But it just seemed there was a lot more of clips of OJ on the streets or just doing whatever the last 20 years in that fifth part than there was the previous 4 parts pre-1990s when not everybody had a fucking camera. It's they just had a bunch of clips of him out partying, him doing that radio interview, him doing a bunch of different stuff. So very good show, tremendous. If you haven't seen it, watch it. So. Sports Lounge 174. Me and Marcus will be in Denver next week, sweating our balls off there. So hopefully don't puke on the interstate again. That's the goal of the weekend there. So we'll see. It's very likely. Well, because I hadn't puked in like 10 years, and I puke in Kansas City. So as long as I don't wear anything black, as long as I don't wear this shirt right here, I should be fine. As long as I drink some water, we should be good. Catheter is in place, so we're going to save some time there as far as stopping for bathroom purposes. And we do have the IV in, so we're going to go that way there. 9-hour drive, time difference, takes about 8 hours to get there, so that's what we're shooting for there. It stops for gas station and food or whatever, who the hell knows. So we leave at 3 o'clock, hopefully, 3 o'clock Thursday, hopefully get there before midnight. So there you go. And we'll do some audio of some sorts next week. So everybody else gets a week off. Stackany can recover from Nashville, and you can recover from this great Game 7 we're going to see here in about
I could
4.5
recover from how disappointed I'm going to be in Game 7 tonight.
Yes. So happy birthday to the fathers, Marcus, Stacken. The final two that came down to 2, me and Charlie. There we go. We'll see you. You'll hear from us next week in Hot as Balls, Denver.